Later that night, Jack was awoken by a crackle of electricity. He opened his eyes in the darkness, a room he shared with Ricky, sleeping side by side on two mattresses on the floor, listening. Then Jack heard the crackling again, still distant, no louder than before, but this time. Jack sat up in bed and reached for his guns.
Ricky, wake up!
What is it? I was dreaming about...
Somebody here, outside.
Ricky's eyes flicked to the closed door, the light from the corridor ebbing in beneath it.
What is that?
Jack was on his feet, Colt Python in hand, MP5K in his belt, snatching up his jacket from where he had placed it down the night before.
Defenses.
Ricky rose, grabbing his pants, his jacket, and his boots, getting into the former as quickly as he was able.
Defenses? You mean our defenses? Our Akaria's defenses?
Yeah.
Jack opened the door and moved out into the corridor, his Colt Python poised before him, scanning left and right before he made his way from the room. Still shrugging into his coat, Ricky followed. He caught up with Jack halfway up the corridor as he padded quietly ahead, tense and alert. Their room was located on the ground floor, and as they came closer, they heard the evidence of people testing the electrified doors that protected the building, each cry accompanied by a momentary flicker of the overhead lights.
What the hell is going on?
They had reached a right-angle turn in the corridor where the labs were located, with the cafeteria now behind them. A white coat they'd met, named Edward Aldwych, was standing ahead of them, talking to a handful of sec-men and sec-women. Aldwych was uncomfortably tall, with a bird's nest of white hair atop his head that looked even worse than normal now that he'd been rudely awoken. He turned as he saw Jack and Ricky approach, just as the sec-men charged away toward the front of the building.
Ah! Our visitors. Yes?
This an attack?
Yes, categorically it is. They're on the cameras. Come see.
Aldwych strode 6 feet down the corridor, passing Ricky and Jack, then into the open door of the surveillance room. As Ricky and Jack followed, they came before a half-dozen screens and saw a mass of figures swarming outside in the darkness, just a collection of shadows and silhouettes in the moonlight.
Muties.
Nuke shit. How many are there out there?
60, 70? Hard to be sure. More keep coming.
Tech expert Phil Trank sat before the bank of screens, manning the system. Trank was young and a little overweight, with a receding hairline. He looked worried. They watched as one of the milling figures peeled away from the mass and ran headlong at one of the electrified doors, before being thrown back in a flash of sparks. As the sparks outside flared out, the lights in the room dimmed.
And what? They're just throwing themselves at the doors?
Not themselves. People. Humans.
They watched as another silhouetted figure pulled away from the mass, and under instruction of its masters, threw itself at the electrified doors, resulting in another explosion of lightning-like electricity.
Your doors will hold, right?
Trank was consulting a computer screen.
Not if they keep at this pace, no.
Just then, 3 more figures flung themselves at the doors, causing the electricity to arc across the front of the old building.
Shit!
Surely it depends on how many people they have to spare.
All of them?
All?
Slaves. Limitless resource.
No resource is limitless.
That won't matter once they get to our defenses, Professor Aldwych.
The lights winked out before flickering back to life in an on-off flutter.
They've breached the doors.